Let's do it. All right. Well, hello and welcome, folks, to Real Estate Mastermind number 4. And man, how exciting this is. We'd like to say thank you and big shout out to CJ Wallace and the Velocity channel for having us out and on, talking to all of you beautiful people out there in YouTube land. My name is Joseph Smith. This is my business partner, Ray Fleming, the property guy.
Good evening, everybody.
All right. So we are part of the Wise Guys and Ties, and each and every week we come out to help you learn all about the 5 systems of wealth. What do we cover? We cover banking, and we cover taxes, and we cover business, especially business credit, but starting a business, real estate, education, man, so many wonderful things. And today you're really going over real estate and education today. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Well, folks, I need to let you know right off the bat in terms of a disclaimer that the results that we share here are just our personal examples. And when it comes to real estate, it really varies. So the numbers that you might do better. Our results aren't necessarily typical, but who wants to be typical? You see what we do and you might think, oh, I've done better, or I could do better. And you're probably right. But the whole point is our goal here and our focus is to take information and bring it to you in general information and scope. So we're not trying to pretend that we're realtors, we're not attorneys, lawyers, anything like that. We're not CPAs, financial advisors, although we did play one on TV, right? Anyway, the point is we want you to do your own due diligence. We're going to share a lot of great and wonderful ideas from strategies that we've learned. And what we want you to do is we want you to take these ideas on a test drive, right? We want you to do your own due diligence, though, and make sure that what we share with you is something that you can implement in your life. And we're confident that you can. But without any further ado, I'm going to turn the rest of the content portion of the program over to Mr. Ray Fleming, the property guy.
Thank you, sir. All right. Absolutely. So who's excited for some real estate tonight? That's what we're talking about. And I see here, welcome out. We got Raul, we got Will, we got another Will too. We got both Wills here tonight. So that's excellent. And what do we got here in the chat? We got Raul asking, where would you say, in which quadrant are you in regards to the cash flow quadrant? Ooh, you know what? That actually, I'm glad you asked that. That's going to segue a little bit into where we are today, talking about where and how to get into real estate investing. Now, what Raul was asking is, he said, where do we really fall into the quadrant of cash flow? And yeah, this was, something that's always discussed by Robert Kiyosaki, famous author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't read the book, go out and read it. It's a great book. So this is what the quadrants look like. There's the upper left, which is basically representing the employee mindset. And there's also the self-employed. Then over here, we have business owners and investors. So what's the difference here? You're an employee. So basically you collect a W-2. As you're self-employed, you still are working underneath your social security number. And so even as a self-employed individual, you are still earning money underneath your social security number. This is where we are all taught to live in the actual cash flow quadrant. Now, the thing is, when you're here, this is the most expensive way to actually earn money is as an employee. Next, we have the self-employed, which is still very, very expensive because you are personally liable for everything that you're doing, which your goal will be. And where we are now, I am no longer an employee, as Raul was asking, and I'm no longer self-employed. Both Joseph and I, we have crossed over this pivotal point where now you are a business owner, where you basically own a system and people work for you. Then there's also investor, where you have funds that actually go out and produce for you. The ultimate goal is to just be primarily an investor, but you also I think being a business owner and an investor, both in different combinations, is the ultimate goal for where you want to be. Now, everything over here typically is going to fall under your employer identification number, and that is how you end up making your true wealth in this country, is by moving across the quadrant is what we like to say there. So that's a great way to segue into what we're going to talk about tonight, because
where are we? Oh, the answer's question.
We're across here. So we've crossed the threshold where we are business owner and investors.
So you're the business owner and I'm the investor?
No, that's where we are. We are over here. We both are. We're both business owners. We're both investors at this point. And that's where you want to be too. You want to move across to becoming a business owner and an investor. All right.
Perfect.
Now, so this is what's really important. You want to get into real estate investing. Where are you going to find the funds to do so? Now, maybe you already have the funds available to you. You just may not know that. Or you're where Joseph and I were in the beginning, and we're thinking, man, we really want to get into real estate investing. You know, we've been going through different classes and courses and learning how to be successful, profitable real estate investors. And then so I'm looking at Joseph and I said, hey, let's go fix and flip some properties. Let's go buy some rental properties. You have any money?
No,
I don't have any money either, but let's go find some money. Where is the money that can be found? And this is what's important, is when you are an employee or you're self-employed or you're a newbie business owner, there is a lot of money out there that can be found through investors. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight is first off, where's that money located? Second, what needs to be done in order for you to be able to use it? Now, the biggest pool of money is not sitting in folks' savings account. You know, every Tuesday night when we're talking about credit banking, that's trying to get you out of debt. Most people are in debt. Most people don't have enough in their savings account. Most funds, yes, we see on there pension funds, yes, that's one place, but pensions are really becoming almost a rarity. They're almost obsolete now. The norm used to be
government employees. A lot of them have the pension funds.
Yeah, unless you're working for the government or, you know, in some type of branch of the government, you're not really going to see the pensions like you did before. But this brings up a good point. Pensions. What do most people have that they're putting money into on a bi-weekly, monthly basis? What are they contributing to grow their retirement? What is that product? Exactly. 401k. So most people, as they work, they are contributing to the 401k. But what most people don't understand is the 401k was designed to be a supplement to the pension. It was not designed to actually be enough to retire on. However, that is why we are seeing the things that we are seeing today. Now, I got to talk to you guys for a second. The problem that we are seeing here, there's some serious uprise in the people of this country, but I'll tell you what is actually taking place. What we are truly seeing is actually a class war. This is a class war that's taking place here. There's the system was rigged against you, and there's no longer a middle class that is being created. It used to be predominantly middle class, but now there's not enough ways to make money as an employee and actually build wealth and take care of your family. And the wealth is being divided too greatly. And so what we're doing every single week is we're coming here because I want you to be able to recapture that wealth. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is how to build wealth, how to grow your wealth. And that's what we do every single week, is we talk about how you can massively grow your wealth, change your family's trajectory, change your generational wealth, build what the very few wealthy in this country have understood, that through business ownership, real estate investing, that is the true way to legacy, changing of legacies. Really, that's what it is. And it can't just happen with a 401k. It's not enough. Working 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life so you can retire on basically 40% of what you're making is not enough anymore. So what do? Now, if you're just starting out or you're approaching retirement, this is what we got to talk about. If you're currently using a 401k and you're currently employed, there's ways to pull out money. I'm not going to necessarily talk about those tonight. We talked about some of those on Tuesday during our business credit empowerment, where we could talk about ways to leverage up to 100% of your retirement. That's powerful. Now, what happens when you leave that job? Some of you may have old 401ks and it got converted into a traditional IRA. Some of you may have Roth IRAs that you have started. But the power is in the retirement accounts out there, IRAs. Many folks have IRAs, and that is the biggest pool of funds. Up until recently, that pool was larger than the debt that the United States had. We were sitting at about $28 trillion in retirement funds, basically being played around on Wall Street. So it's not in savings accounts that you're going to find folks have the funds to invest in your business or real estate. Their funds to invest are sitting in their retirement accounts. And right now there's readily available $9 trillion, or about $9 trillion, that is readily convertible to be able to be used for investing in business and real estate out of the total amount that is sitting there.
Only 9 trillion?
Well, that's readily convertible, because a lot of that's still sitting in 401ks with current employers, things like that.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to Antonio, Raul, Saad, Tony, Will. Thanks for being here in on the webinar.
On the Zoom call. Excellent. So let's say, Mr. Smith,
Yo,
you have a retirement account.
I have a retirement account.
Now, let's just say that you're an average Joe. And what would you say is about the average rate of return? Now, before what's currently happening, let's just say this is normal events. Let's say everything is thriving like normal. What would you say is the average return on a 401k?
Well, even with everything that's happening now, it'd be somewhere between 1% to 6%.
1% to 6%. I would say that yes.
More people who have a little bit more control over the choices that they are making are probably earning higher return, and a lot of people who've just sort of put it in the set it and forget it mode are closer to the 1%.
Right. So, you get a shopping list. When you have a 401k, you get a shopping list of different index funds, or it's just mutual funds. You got to think about, how did they get onto that shopping list? Something to think about. There's a lot of fees and things that go into everything that you don't even realize you're paying. Now, second of all, when I was looking into it, I said, oh, well, I'm going to pick the best performing mutual funds. I'm going to see which ones are doing best, have the best stated earnings. And so I did a little research, and I ended up, picking about 4 that seemed to be doing good and allocated 25% to them. But then I was realizing I wasn't making that much. I said, well, they were saying that they were making about 8%, yet I'm seeing only about a 2% return. Why is that? Is it just a down year? No, actually, what I found out about mutual funds is that they can run several different investment models. And the thing is, they only have to publish the results of the ones that were winners. So if they end a certain model that they were running and they kill that model, and then they do other things, and then there's all sorts of other fees and stuff, it's crazy, because it's just a business. Mutual funds are businesses. You're not actually, some folks feel like you're actually, which I thought I was investing into the stock market. No, what actually I'm investing into a business that then uses my money to invest into the stock market. So we're not going to get too much into that depth today, but I want you to understand that there's a lot of stuff going on there. You're investing into a business when you invest into a mutual fund. So why don't you invest into a business that you may have a little bit more control over? And it's a great way to talk to somebody about, hey, you're already investing into somebody else's business. Why don't you come in on this business with me? And then we can actually see and look at everything and see what it's actually doing. But people can't just invest into that business, can they? or your business, it has to go through a little bit of a process, right? So let's say that you have an old 401k, or you have an IRA, you have a Roth IRA, but wherever it is right now, it could be sitting with Fidelity or it's sitting with some type of brokerage. Now, if you go there and you ask, hey, can I invest into my buddy's business? Or can I invest into a rental property? What are they going to tell you? Is it that you can, yeah, exactly. They're going to give you the buzzer. And is it that you cannot have it?
It's like what you said, use an example earlier. Can I order a hamburger at Taco Bell?
Right. Okay, so they have ground beef at Taco Bell, and I know just from working there, they always have some extra stuff for the employees that are eating that's not on the menu. So I've seen buns and things like that sitting around, or they have bread, and they have similar things. They could make
cheese.
Yeah, they have all the ingredients that they could potentially make a burger. But like the 401k plan, it's not on the menu. So they're going to say, no, you can't, but it just means you can't from them. So you have to go across the street to the burger joint where they actually have that on their menu. So it's not that you can't have a burger, you just can't get it from them. And that's what typically happens in brokerages, is they only have a set menu. And if you want to do something that's not on their menu, you're going to have to go somewhere else. So where is that? Where do we go? So,
hey, big shout out to Corey Wafer and Nasty Fran. Thanks for being on tonight.
Nice. All right. What you have to do, and this is what you help folks understand, is taking your old 401k, your old or the current IRA. This could be a Roth IRA. This could be, there's different types of actual investment savings accounts. This could be even a health savings account you could self-direct. And that's what we're talking about. We're moving this to what's called a TPC, a third-party custodian. Now, if you don't know,
I was going to say, I don't even smoke marijuana, but no, you cleared it up.
TPC, no, that's
THC?
No, not THC. That's TPC,
Oh.
third-party custodian.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I got it.
Now, third-party custodian, basically what they do is they are a brokerage of sorts. It's more of like a financial institution that can manage retirement funds. Now, we put it here because then it can be classified as self-directed, or directed, if I can spell. Self-directed. Now, basically what they say is, where do you want to send these funds? Now, according to the IRS only tells you what you cannot do. So anything that they have on their prohibited transactions is just things that you can't do. So as long as you're not doing a prohibited transaction and you're keeping the right documentation, everything is on the up and up. Now, for some folks, that's enough, because then they can use that third party as a way to help protect their account. Because if you do something wrong, that can create all sorts of penalties. You could be forced to dissolve the account. There could be early withdrawal fees. There's all sorts of penalties and stuff that could be in place. And then your account's no longer there. That's not good. You don't want that to happen. Now, especially if you're using yours or somebody else's, you need to understand all those ins and outs of how to do it properly. Because I'll tell you what, nobody's going to entrust their retirement account with you if you don't know how to use it. But that's not the only place we can take this. The other great thing you can do with this is it can now go to the next level. And it can be turned into what's called, I will just slide that a little bit there.
The next level.
The next level. This is where your retirement actually creates a company. The ownership of a company is the retirement account. And this is what we usually refer to as a self-directed IRA LLC. Now, you are typically the manager of this business, but you are not the owner. The owner is your retirement account. That's what's pretty powerful. Now, I know we talk a lot about business ownership because there's something else that can be done as well when it's here. You know, it's something else that's really cool that we have people our partners in our businesses who have these as well. So let's say that you have an LLC.
I have an LLC.
You do have an LLC. Let's say you have a single member LLC. It's just you. You're the single member of your LLC. Well, can businesses, we just learned about that over here. This came from the 401k. Did you know that your business could start a 401k plan? Ooh, that's exciting, right? Your business could start a 401k plan.
Yes.
But if you're the operator, you're the manager, your business, and you start your own retirement plan with your business, can you pick what's on that menu? So you can actually self-direct your own 401k that's part of your business.
Would you want to use an S Corp and do a profit dividend split and then keep the profits as much as you can that you're allowed to keep into your 401k?
Well, I don't know if we want to go that deep today.
Self-direct your 401k and then invest that in real estate?
Weren't you just talking about how we weren't supposed to melt their brains today?
Oh, this is my favorite subject.
It is. It's powerful stuff. It is super powerful stuff. I mean, imagine that. Imagine you're starting your business and then you're growing your retirement account with it. And then you're self-directing your own retirement account, your own 401k. For example, like one of our partners, she has a self-directed 401k. In her little single member LLC, she had rolled over her old retirement into that company's retirement account that she owns fully. And now that trust of that 401k has ownership in rental properties. Imagine that, your little business with your little 401k owning rental properties. Imagine that. Imagine that. The possibilities of this it's endless.
Well, you know what I think about with this, what I love about this is actually like you talked about earlier, like, hey, you want to go invest in real estate? And I said, no, you have any money? No. This is how we went and got all the money.
It is.
Combined with business credit as a security method because I mean, why would somebody give us their retirement money unless we had some way to guarantee it?
Exactly. But you bring up a good point. A prohibited transaction, let's say that this self-directed retirement account wanted to go get a loan. Can you do that? Ooh. So let me say this. You're the banker. Let's role play for a minute. You're the banker.
Okay.
And I am owner of the self-directed IRA LLC.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not the owner. My retirement owns it, and I'm the manager.
Okay.
I want to come and apply for a mortgage or some type of standard financial product to purchase a rental property.
Mm-hmm.
And am I allowed to provide my social security number to you to guarantee that debt?
Me as the banker, I don't care whether or not you're following any of the IRS laws.
Oh, so you're not going to say that I can't.
I'm going to give you the money, sure.
Right, if I qualify.
Right. If you end up, doing a prohibited transaction, that's on you, partner.
But what can happen though on that side when the IRS finds out about that?
Well, they'll take all your money away. And then the bank will still come after you too.
Absolutely. You cannot personally guarantee the debt of your own retirement account. That's a huge prohibited transaction. I couldn't have my mom invest in one of our companies because that would be a prohibited. There's so many prohibited transactions and you need to know what you can and can't do.
Am I still the banker?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would like to see if I could interest you in one of our non-recourse commercial collateral loans.
Ah, beautiful. So that is interesting to me. A non-recourse commercial collateral loan. Where have you heard that talked about before? Possibly on one of our business credit ventures, because we primarily use self-directed IRAs for all of our rental properties, all of the fix and flip properties. We have, since nobody can be personally liable, there's some true power in building business credit without using your personal guarantee. That's why we talk about it, folks, every single week, day in, day out. That's what we're talking about because it's important. For example, one of our little rental properties, they just got approved for their new $4,500 credit line at Amazon. There's 7 different retirement accounts in that big group that own that. And so how does that work? How do we build these lines of credit on rental properties? You know, with $4,500, does that help? I mean, what can't you buy off Amazon these days? Really anything. I mean, anything. You can pretty much buy it. So there's a process of moving the funds through this depending on somebody's risk level, knowledge level, and tolerance level. So this is enough for money, folks, but some take it to the next level and even beyond that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What is my liability for prohibited transactions if I keep it at the TPC level versus what's my liability if I move it over here to the self-directed IRA LLC?
You're fully liable here. You have a checkbook, you have an account, you're writing checks. You are fully 100% liable. Over here, there's a barrier. When you involved a third party in anything that you're doing, that's some type of separation, and you can argue some good points that, hey, that's why I actually had them involved, because I didn't actually do something like that. This is why it should always have like a third party accountant if you're working with several partners in a company. This is why you should always have third parties in there, because what you can honestly say is, hey, I took the steps to try my best to prevent damage. Which brings me up to another point. If you know anybody in current situations, it's all about making sure that you are protecting yourself, or that you did something to actually protect yourself. If you're going to go this route, I will make sure that you have at least gone through some course with my attorney. I want you to go through a class with my attorney if you're going to go as far as self-directing your account into an IRA LLC. That is crucial, that you not only know what you can't do, but also you should know what we are going to be doing and what we can't do either. See, that's what's important. I know what a CPA should do. I know what attorneys should do. I know what should be in the contracts, but I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA, but I do know the right things to look for. That's why I have the professionals that we do, is because once you understand what's required, then you can make sure you're working with the right professionals. Now, I'm just saying that not all CPAs are created equally, because there's some that really are good with just the personal finances. And if you take somebody that has just experience with personal finances and then you throw them into trying to do the accounting for a business that has self-directed IRA LLCs and rental property and things like that, and they have no experience doing that, it could be a very big learning curve. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't learn that, but you might want to go somewhere else and allow them to go through that learning experience on their own, and not when it could potentially cause you a lot of problems. All right, so this is how you move money into a usable resource for your business, because once it's here, they could simply write a check from there, or they could write a check from here, and that check could be ownership in a business, that could be ownership of part of a rental property. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that you could invest into. If you just wanted to go and buy a bunch of Amazon stock, there you go. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could actually do with your funds. Or, you have a buddy that wants to start a plumbing business and he needs $20,000 to get that business off the ground. You have $20,000 sitting in your retirement account. Boom. Why don't we just go out here and put this together in a business? I'll bring my retirement funds and you bring your services, and let's go make some money. And then that's a lot less risky than investing into, well, I mean, from my perspective, I feel like it's a lot less risky when you invest into, say, a rental property or something like that, because you can actually have more control over it. And as long as it's managed right and taken care of, then over time, real estate has always performed better than any other asset. Now, how to actually learn about this? How are we doing on time? All right. I'm going to dive in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about.
Did you want to talk about, because people like Nasty was saying, you guys are very knowledgeable. And I said it's because we got educated.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I was going to do that thing on the computer, but I mean, if we're already here at the whiteboard, I could just do that. Is there anything on the back here? Whoop. There is. I don't know what's on the back of this, so I'm not going to turn it around because there could be.
E. Penny says, hey guys, I want to get involved with business, but I don't know what to do. And then we replied, hi, E. Penny, if you don't know what business to get into, maybe you should consider a marketing referral business.
Ooh, next week we're going to talk about some marketing referral businesses, and I'm going to show you guys how on very, very little startup, you could be bringing in, like kind of affiliate fees and different stuff like that, anywhere from a couple $100 to, over 10, even over $11,000. So we take advantage of these things all the time. And I was just thinking, there's no shortage, but there's a lot of people that need help right now and need ways to make some money. So make sure you like and subscribe. We'll probably be I don't know which channel we'll be on, but make sure you also journey over to Wise Guys and Ties YouTube channel and subscribe to that so you can get all the updates on how to make some money right now.
Perfect. Well, the reason why I mentioned the marketing referral companies, because of what you said, it's usually the lowest overhead and depending on how hard you're willing to work, give you the biggest gains.
Think about if you've been thinking about wholesaling real estate, all it is you're just a wholesaler of services.
Well, and funny, you should mention that because I said if not a marketing referral business, then a real estate investing company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's look at somewhat of a timeline. If you want to get to some type of result, let's look at a plan. You need some type of plan in place in order to get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to map out a little plan here for you guys to get to. Let's see. Let's bring it over a little bit. Is that good? Let's get to, maybe this is a little bit too big.
It looked good to me.
Look good?
But now it looks, all right, there we go.
There we go.
We were experiencing a little blizzard and now you're de-icing it.
There we go. All right. So this is a timeline and we want to get to a place where we're making some money. Let's look at, let's say that we want to make $20,000. How are we going to make $20,000?
We got to go from greenhouses to red hotels.
There we go. Now, where do we start? So what we talk about is how do we actually learn everything that we learned and how do we know everything that we know? We've gone through many different classes and different things like that, and that's what I want to let you guys know about. So what we did was we went through what was called the Essentials. Now, the Essentials was taught by a company called Renatus. And I'm sure
you should write that up on the board.
Oh, yeah.
Because not a lot of people know their Latin.
Renatus. That's Latin for rebirth. Some of you may feel like your finances need a rebirth. Now, just so you know, I have gone to Renatus, and they do have a kind of like an affiliate program, but it's not because of that. I literally have gone through Renatus and had some really, really awesome success. Will your success be the same? I don't know. That's not for me to be able to control. But I do need to share with you what I did in order to get where I was going. I wanted to go do real estate. That was my thing. So I started with the Essentials, and that basically was 10 classes on foundational, self-directed IRAs, how to structure business, how to actually do real estate without using my own money or credit.
Is there any class on velocity banking in there?
The velocity banking class is in there as well. Learning how to get your debt strategically paid down. The velocity banking class is almost 6.5 hours long. Pre-test, post-test workbooks. So if you've been wondering, okay, how do I actually pay this with that and this with this and that? That's in the class. That's how I met Joseph. I met Joseph through Renatus. I also met CJ Wallace through Renatus. That's how Joseph met CJ Wallace. And so what we did is we would start in the Essentials, and that's where everybody really needs to start. And there is a cost to that, though. That was $2,400 or $2,500, I should say. But, I didn't have any money, but they offered me financing. So that was cool. Now, so after you complete this, because this is over 60 hours of coursework, and Joseph, what's a passing grade with Renatus?
Well, gee, let me see. That would be 100%.
100% passing grade, but you get to take it as many times as you need to. That's what's really cool. But this is what I actually leveraged for people to actually invest with us. So I would show them, say, hey, look, this company provides this education, and I took these courses, and as you can see, I passed them with flying colors. I passed the self-directed IRA class. So it's not that you have they don't have any type of credentials. Like there's no licensing that says you're certified IRA investor or anything like that. But what I could show them was the power of the education and show them that, hey, look, the person that's teaching this, his name is Matt Sorensen. He's one of the leading experts in the country. If you look him up, Matt Sorensen, you'll see that he's an attorney for KKOS, has the #1 best-selling book on self-directed IRAs in the country. He's always on all the top news shows and all that stuff whenever there's some type of, he's the guy teaching the class. That's who I learned from. So if you were looking to invest with me, what's your confidence level that that's the attorney I use? And I've also gone through his trainings. Your confidence level in us is much higher now. Now, so then I was like, hey, let's do some fix and flips.
Before we did fix and flips, though, you got a little bit of coaching along the way, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. You bring up a good point. Because right here, there is group coaching. Group coaching every single week. There's a Renatus instructor that offers group coaching. That was really excellent because I could plug in, and even when I didn't even know what I was looking for, I was able to plug into that. Then wanted to do some fix and flips. What was cool is at this point, there was the one-on-one coaching to really figure out, building a plan, how everything was going to be put into place. Now, they don't just have fix and flips. That's where I started. But other things that they have like rental property, so buy and hold. You could do commercial property. You could just do notes. If you want to do nightly rentals or short-term rentals, you're putting properties on Airbnb. There's classes like that.
Short sales,
wholesaling, auctions. I mean, there's a whole lot of them. And so I wanted to do fix and flip. And there's 12 classes. 12 classes that were in there. And these aren't little YouTube classes. These are 12, these are 6-hour classes with workbooks and all sorts of things. What I liked is that it was a lot of content. So I could download it and just put it into my car, listen to it while I was, driving to here and there, because each thing is in a little section. So I just had maybe 10 minutes to knock out a course, and then it tracked me. It basically keeps track of everything that I've done. That way I know I don't have to worry about, oh, did I already watch this? Everything is systematic and kept in order. So then I went through that, and the same thing. It was a passing grade of 100% on those classes. And then I got to where I needed to take action, because just knowing about it isn't enough. You got to take action. And so I wanted to go and find a property that I could flip. I wanted to get some money together and do everything like that. And so I need to go find some deals. And so statistically, you got to make 100 strong offers on houses. Now, if you make 100 offers and 100 people accept your offer, what does that mean?
You offered way too much, my friend.
Way too much. That was not a offer that was a win-win situation. That was they're winning a lot and you're losing situation. So statistically, if you're making the right offers, about 10 people will even entertain those offers. Okay. But from there, after negotiating, which negotiating is a class in the essentials, which is really nice, learn how to negotiate and talk with folks. 3 people are willing to actually sell.
Take it to close.
Take it to close. That's just the statistics. And then one reason or another, one will actually close. Now, if you have more experience, your numbers can be better. Or if you're starting out, maybe you have to make 300 offers because you're not quite sure how to do it in the beginning. But that's where the power of plugging into us. Yes.
But to make 100 offers, I mean, I know you probably are looking at 20 or 30 properties before you make even one offer.
Right.
So how many properties would you have to look at?
Hundreds of properties. And actually tonight on the case study, I'm going to show you how we actually look for those properties, and also how the property that we're going over tonight in the case study is one of, I think, 7 properties that we're looking at that day. And so, when you're looking at a whole bunch of properties, we came down with one, and that was probably the 100th house that we looked at in the last 2 weeks. And it was that one out of the 100 that turned out to be good. And so what happens is you end up going to the close on that one property, or you end up wholesaling that out to somebody else. Now, I said something saying wholesaling. What happens if you don't have the funds ready to actually do this, or you only have the funds available to do one property? What do you do with those other 2? Let's say that these other 2 are going to close as well. What could you do if you have now 3 properties scheduled to close, but you only have the resources to do one?
I would do a strategy that's 2 letters, WS.
WS, wholesaling them. All that really is now, depending on the state you live in, there's certain ways to actually do this. Now, there are certain states where you actually would have to close this, doing what's called a double close, where you need transactional funding, depending on the title company. I know our title company will even be able to do it in different states where wholesaling is technically, not allowed unless you have a license or something like that. But there's nothing that necessarily can stop you from buying it and then turning around and selling it. Even in those situations, as long as it's not in a REO, which is a real estate owned status, or this is, there's a couple different statuses that could be what's considered, illegal, or you can't necessarily do it. That's why knowing what the differences in each state and where you're operating are important. Because if you're in a state like, say, Illinois, where you can't necessarily do wholesaling without a broker's license, then you're going to actually have to purchase that house. And then after you purchased it and closed on the property, you could turn around and sell it again. Now, that just takes a little bit more of a process where, in Arizona, we can just assign the contract and get a fee for that. So just depending on where you are, it's just how you're going to have to go about doing that. That's why it's always important to have an attorney on your team and gone through some education where it actually teaches you how to do it, which is great because Renatus is designed to work around the entire US, and a lot of their marketing stuff works internationally. So we've done this, and we're going to use a system tonight, and I'm going to show you that system that I like to show a lot because I use it every day. It's called Renatus iOS, so the investor operating software, and that's what we're going to use tonight to evaluate the deal. And this helps you find people, properties, and money. And we'll show you that tonight. And so at this point, you go through, you finish the deal, but the key is going through the classes. Some folks can do this in 90 days. Some people, it takes 4 years to do this.
Are you talking about me again?
Yeah, it just depends on where you're at. It just depends. The great thing is it's self-paced, and you get it for the lifetime of Renatus. So when you invest, that $2,500 into your education, you get it as long as Renatus is around. I got mine over 4 years ago. I know Joseph got his over 6 years ago, and still have it. They have access to the classes, all the updates, and never had to pay another penny. That's what's nice. So if that's what you're looking at, that's where we come from, and we're going to be coming to you still each and every week, giving you as much value as we can. But if you're like, hey, I need to take my game to the next level. I'm sitting around, all week long doing nothing, or I'm sitting at this job that I absolutely hate, or I'm doing,
sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you're like, hey, I got to get into these classes. I got 2 hours a night that I'm wasting on Netflix, and I could actually be flying through this stuff and raising some serious capital, because who knows what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. What I do know is there's a lot of opportunities right now. It's almost like, Renatus, it's Latin for rebirth. Every time something bad happens, there's opportunity.
It just depends on how you want to look at it.
Mm.
Right now is the biggest time of opportunity in history. There has never been so much opportunity in history, but it depends on the way you're looking at it. Either you can think that everything is actually constricting, but in reality, everything is expanding, and there's a lot of people that need help. So if you get the knowledge on how to help those folks, you are going to be the problem solver.
So back over in the essentials, you took the course on self-directed IRAs, right?
Yep.
How much money have you raised with self-directed IRAs?
That's a great question.
Or am I the only one that keeps track of those numbers?
Well, I mean, we're like seven.
How much did you raise in 30 days one time though? That's a cool story.
406
400
in 30 days.
From
seven different folks.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been all sorts of other little side deals and all sorts of other stuff. We have another business that was funded 285.
Over the course of 18 months, we've raised 736,000.
There you go.
But I mean, we know people that have raised millions doing this.
Absolutely.
So, I mean.
But could you do some real estate with $700,000?
Well, we sure have.
Yeah.
We're on deal number 18, or no, excuse me, 19 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing those simultaneously right now. And we have 5 rentals.
Good point, Joseph. Great point. All right. So what are we looking at tonight? We're going to look at fix and flip property. And I want to actually show you some of those numbers because those numbers.
This is the case study now?
Yeah. Let's dive into that case study. Unless we got some other questions. Anybody else there? Yes, for sure.
I've been answering pretty much all the questions.
Awesome. All right, let me log in here and I'm going to borrow Mr. Smith's.
We've had a lot of good participation. Raul has been chiming in. We've got E. Penny is super excited. We've got Will who says, never heard of marketing referral program. You know, he definitely.
What? We got to talk. Oh, man. Make sure you're tuning in for next week because, I mean, literally, there's been months where we have made over $10,000 on a referral program. Imagine that. I mean, it's just a different world in business. It just is.
It's not even our primary business.
Whoa. Sorry. Whoa. Who's talking?
That's what I think.
Whoa.
That's what I think is pretty amazing. When you have a referral business, you just do business as normal. But then when you find somebody that is a potential client for another business, I mean, there's so many different products and services that we've purchased that one of the major reasons why we purchased it is because they have a referral program. So we can send people to these other businesses and they can check them out.
Absolutely. How can I borrow your screen or share your?
Oh, did you log in finally?
I did.
All right. Well, then
You may have to share your screen.
I think I just make you the host, right?
I need your no.
Oh, you need my screen?
Your PowerPoint. Why don't you share that or share the PowerPoint real quick?
You got it, partner.
Yeah, that one.
There we go.
Let's put in a PowerPoint form there.
You got it, partner.
All right, cool. And then let's see. Oops. Where are we at?
I don't know. I'm still just trying to figure everything out. All right, there we go. All right, the computer challenged. All right, so now you want me to switch this over to you? Okay, well, let's see, how do I do that? So I go.
There we go.
Boom.
Excellent.
There you go. That's
all
easy.
right.
Easy.
Let's see if this works. This does work.
Easy.
All right. Here we go. All right. As we dive into this, I'm going to talk about one of our properties that we've done. And so in the future, going to start to collect some properties that you folks are working on, that you're looking at. I encourage you, if you got a property that you've been looking at, we can always share, hide all the, some of that detail in case it's something that you're in the current works on. That way,
somebody doesn't necessarily, I don't know, also try to compete for that. I guess that's the best way to say it. But this is a property that's already been completed. And I want to put this up there because I want you guys to be able to, if you want, to basically verify and check on what we're actually sharing with you. So this is a property here in Tucson, Arizona. Now, we purchased this at the courthouse auction, the foreclosure auction that takes place. Now, when that happens, you don't have a whole lot of time to evaluate these properties. Literally, the night before, now let's talk about that. You got to be working in a team. So usually Joseph would be heading down and he'd be at the courthouse, and that morning he may or may not have had to go pick up a check, or maybe he already had some checks, cashier checks. In Pima County, you got to have a $10,000 check to play. So he'd be down there and then he'd be on his headset. If you've ever seen any of the TV shows, or if you've ever been to a real estate auction, you'll see it many times. There's somebody there talking to somebody on the phone. There's a big reason for that, because what's happening during the auction process is, a lot can happen in 24 hours. So usually the properties that are going to go the next day, they start to get bids. I don't want to dive too deep into the auction process. That we could save that for another day. But usually we have less than 18 hours to figure out if this property is something that we want to do. So we're going to have to be able to do it quickly. Now, this was one of seven houses that we were driving around that morning. So I'm out there and I'm driving around and I'm doing my best to be able to evaluate these quickly. Some of these houses I've seen before, some of them I had not. And so what we had to do was get really, really good at evaluating, multiple properties and coming up with good numbers within the matter of, 15, 20 minutes even sometimes, just by looking on the outside, seeing what it is. And so, depending on the rules and regulations in your area, you may or may not be able to actually walk up to those houses. Most likely in your area, it says you can't. But with that being said, let's take a look at hey, there we go.
Oh, go back. Go back.
Oh, did it just jump?
Baby, come back.
There we go.
You can blame it on.
So weren't able to, this is actually a picture after we purchased it that day. But when I saw this house, there's some things that, were important to see when you're evaluating properties quickly. A lot of times looking at the outside, you can determine what it actually is going to look like on the inside. From the outside, this looked very, very clean. Both the backyard, it had some weeds, but for the most part, this place was pretty well maintained. Could see through the windows and didn't see a lot of trash and debris. Most people, you would be surprised, most people actually don't destroy their houses. Even though you may have heard that everybody destroys it. Oh, it's a foreclosure, it's going to be trash. That actually, some cases, yes, many cases not though. Just because you have renters doesn't mean they're going to destroy your house. Most people don't. It's just those bad apples that ruin it for the bunch.
What were you able to tell by the roof, by looking at the fascia?
Looking at the fascia, those are the boards that support the perimeter of the roof. These were well kept, well maintained. These were well kept and well maintained. The paint had been, redone in the last couple of years or so. So it shows, and it wasn't a color that probably was there originally. You could see that there was painting that had been done. So there was pride, there was care that was put into these homes. That's a big indicator of this as well. So I was like, this house looks in great shape. The outside is immaculate. The inside, it doesn't even look like there's any trash on the inside either. So just by having that upper hand, by gone by that house, because we know folks who have bought things at auction and it burned down overnight.
That's true.
And it burned down overnight.
Another indicator was you actually talked to the neighbors. And you found out that the man who lived here, his wife died. Mm-hmm. And then he went and moved. He couldn't afford the payments anymore and just went and moved with his kids. 2
weeks earlier, had a yard sale there, and it was just one of those things. And so when these details, that situation, and which you bring up a great point. We gotta,
we got a good buddy of ours who's been doing auctions for a long time, and maybe one day we'll surprise you with bringing him on here and he can share some windows on. That'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah,
that would be. So, or we just go down to the courthouse live and do a live from the courthouse.
we've done that before.
That would be great. Would you guys like to see that? Would you like to see like a live, courthouse auction training? Because they're going to be coming back pretty soon in Arizona. I mean, I know some of you may still be shut down in states, but Arizona, we're fully back up and running. And yeah, it's I don't know. Those are going to be coming back, I imagine, in the next few weeks. So we can do that for you. But this is the property that we're looking at here. All right. So once we actually purchased the house, then we drilled it out. Look at the backyard. You can see it through the back window. It hadn't been miskept for a long period of time. The patio was clean. The weeds were pretty much down. I mean, it looked like they had been growing for a little bit.
I liked this house because the patio ran the full length of the house.
Yeah, that was nice.
And at least this is Tucson, people want to be outside, but they don't want a lot of sun on them because it gets hot.
That's right. In the backyard, if you can actually see here, this right here, those are the mountains. This blue that's right here, those are the mountains. Those are the huge Catalina Mountains in southern Arizona. They're just gorgeous to look at. But it's also, from this house, it's facing north. So in the evening time, you can see that shade there where it's like it's shaded. You got the view of the mountains, a fantastic location. All these things you start to think about. Positioning of houses is important for homeowners. And so this is literally as we walk through the house. Still had a painting left up on the property. It was clean. And this
needed a shower head there.
Yeah, needed a shower head. Probably had his detachable one. The tub is dirty. But look at this. Now, this does not happen. I don't know if we're ever going to find another house that had this, but all the HOA documents, everything just nicely placed there. You got to understand there's a lot of people out there that still do care, that know like, hey, I'm in a situation. This is just what happened. I'm not gonna rebel against the wrong person, but I will, just understand that this is the situation. I'm gonna move forward with peace of mind that I at least didn't destroy it because I felt bad. And so that's what this person did. They said, hey, look, I'm gonna move forward. I'm just gonna, hey, things happen. So the bathrooms, there's a desk that was left, but it was fairly clean. There was no trash. This was the original carpet as well. And so, as we just look through the house, we're thinking, man, this is a gold mine. This is a score. And even the kitchen was nice and clean.
Did you get a picture of the kitchen?
You can see the kitchen back here. The refrigerator was cleaned out.
And clean.
Clean
and
and
smell.
Had the original manual for the refrigerator sitting in there as well. They had pulled that out.
I mean, this house, I think we discovered, was 25 years old.
25 years old, yep.
And that's the original, those cabinets back there, and they were in great condition.
Yep.
All right. That was pretty awesome.
It's huge. To have good cabinets in the kitchen, you don't have to worry about that. The countertops were in good shape. The countertop just had a few little edgings that were falling off. So all I had to do was re-glue those back on. But for the most part, nothing was really damaged, but it was dirty. It needed paint and it needed to be cleaned. And so it needed some floor. Actually, the first approach that we took with this property was we looked at each other. We said, let's just clean the carpet and put it on the market. So we did. And then when we found the buyer negotiated, hey, let's get what if we get some new floors in here? We need a new stove. We need this and that.
Paint and some fixtures.
Some other stuff, fixing some light fixtures, things like that. Let's come up with a good purchase price and make it happen.
Yeah, we actually got top of the market. We were thinking it was going to sell somewhere maybe with us for 165, but we were able, because we took some of because we had our buyer in place, right, and we negotiated. We got 180 out of a previously 165. See, 165 was the low end of the comps, but
let's see what happened here. You know what? Oh, let me.
You stopped sharing your screen.
Oops.
What happened?
No, your screen. Somehow I stopped sharing your screen. So. With that, now I'm going to show you the after pictures
But I'm going to run through the numbers on that, and maybe I'll just share my screen since I'm on here.
Why do I need to like make you the host?
No, you're good. I'll just probably request those from you. Let's see, how do we do this? Let me just share my screen. How do we do that? There we go.
You host.
There we go. Beautiful. No, we're good. Perfect.
All right.
Oh, that's probably like showing you all our properties that we looked at. All right, so this is a Renatus iOS system. Now we're going to go and analyze it, and we're going to go to the deal analyzer. I'm going to pull up the Mastermind and analyzer for tonight. So I'm going to show you this easy way that we run through numbers on our system. So this is the Renatus iOS system. On other days, we're going to go through all the ins and outs and all the bells and whistles that this has. But what's really nice is it's an easy way to analyze the deals. So this property was like, it was like 1,400 square feet. Now the after repair value, we projected that this property would be right around $180,000 after it was fixed. The current value that it was sitting at, we were thinking that the way it sat before we did anything was like 160, right?
I thought 165.
Like 165.
Like if we just cleaned the carpet and we just like put the new shower heads in there or something, just sold it as is.
The way it sat with there, if we didn't even touch it, it was easily 160. We purchased it for 147.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were actually willing to go a lot higher than most of the other folks there, because if we hadn't seen it, I don't think we could have gone over 120 without seeing it.
But it just didn't need a whole lot of work.
Yeah. And
we found out like the roof was 6 years old.
Right.
I mean, there was just so many things that had been already done and replaced in there. So it's good stuff.
Now projected about, since it really didn't need much, about $12,000 in repairs. And our hold time, well, we just factored it would be gone pretty quickly. It wasn't going to need a lot. So we just hold time was 3 months. Now, depending on what your situation is. Now, you can keep in mind that it was a first sale by owner, and we were able to find the owner that could buy it pretty darn quickly, which isn't always the case. Sometimes it sits on the market. We actually had a property that took 13 months from start to finish, and this property sold, really like, I don't know, we didn't have it longer than a month.
Well, I think what helps is that obviously we found the buyer through the Renatus community. There's
Absolutely.
all kinds of investors that are looking to buy and sell.
That is true.
That was very helpful.
That is very true. So right here, we can edit out our HOA fees. What were the HOA fees on that on a annual basis? I think they were right around $200 annually. Insurance, we're looking at homeowners insurance. Well, actually, we're looking at vacant insurance. That's about $1,200 annually. And so this is what we're looking at. We're looking at, okay, what are the prices? What are the costs of this? Gas doesn't cost that much. So we're not really using any. $40 for that, $80 for water, $100 for electric. And you'll start to understand these. If you don't know, then you can kind of use just general numbers for the rule of thumb on that. Now, the great thing about this is this helps you calculate which money source you're using. Now, if you're using hard money, they will usually look at lending you a percentage on the after repair value, which is different from traditional lenders, because traditional lenders are going to look at what it is worth currently.
The current market value.
Yeah, the current market value. And so a hard money lender could look at, hey, what is this thing going to be worth? Now, typically, if you're starting out, these are what the terms are going to be. They're going to offer you 65% of what it could be worth. And they're going to charge you points, 2 points up front. So that's $2,340. And they're going to typically charge you anywhere from 12 to 14% interest. And so that right there, what the interest you're going to have to be paying. And if you're using hard money, they usually have a minimum interest basically for that they're going to guarantee they get at least 3 months worth of interest, but it has to be paid back within 6 months or there's more fees.
So the loan to value, the points, the interest rate, all of those, the more you build up a successful track record, the better terms you get.
Right. This is also why we talk about business credit, because the reason that there's 12 or 14% interest is directly correlated to risk. If you have more of a track record, the interest rates go down because you're reducing your risk. If you have a business that has established business credit, you are ultimately reducing your risk. Because we talk about sometimes different funding sources where, somebody could get that same lending source for 10% and another business had to pay 48% interest. And what's the difference? All it is the track record. It's the credibility. It's the credit score. And if you're not wanting to intermix your personal credit in this, that's a fantastic option, especially if you're going to be doing multiple flips a year. You don't want all those inquiries on your credit. So now there are some hard money lenders that will fully fund the purchase and the rehab, but those do require personal credit. All right, so looking at 1% of this transaction, in this case, there was no transaction to buy it because actually the only cost to buy it was like a $35 recording fee. Yep, that was it. Now, if we're looking at this, we had the funds available to use, but I wanted to demonstrate if we're looking at this with hard money, then there would actually be a closing. Let's look at that first, because I was actually doing a combination. I'm going to show you what this looks like with hard money versus the way that we did it. So 1%, there's still going to be a recording fee on that as well. And next, let's take a look at this. Escrow attorney fees, realtor fees, there's still going to be costs to sell it with a realtor, and there's going to be closing costs. So right there, boom. Estimated net profit, $5,265. Well, that's no good.
In the negative.
In the negative. That's no good. Well, did we lose money on this deal? What did we do differently? Well, let's talk about that. If you're using hard money, there's costs to that. And there's going to be these closing costs. Now, let's look at what we did. Because in this situation, you want to go to the auction, you want to buy this. And this is why we can beat out people at the auction all day long, because we can pay that little bit more. When somebody is sitting there and they have to factor in their money costs, we don't have to. When they have these expensive monthly holding costs, we don't have to. And you know what? Most likely they're looking at a 6-month holding period too. When you're looking at this, you would be running a 6-month holding period. And let's look at what that is. Estimated profit, a negative $10,000. Negative. You couldn't do that. You're going out of business.
Well, okay. I mean, a couple of things is we went into this because we have a buyer's list.
Well, right.
So we already had a good idea of 1, 2, and 3 who we would pitch this to first.
Mm-hmm.
And then second of all, and probably even more importantly, we got all our money together ahead of time by forming a partnership LLC with self-directed IRA money.
Let's talk about that right now. We do not have these money expenses. Those funds are already sitting into that business. We did not have to go through a closing because we're not using a hard money institution. And so our transactional costs.
We didn't even have realtors on this one because we sold directly to another investor.
So because we had already had that buyer's list built, we didn't have to factor in a realtor there. But if we did use our realtor, we would be looking at actual 4%. So I'm going to save that on there.
But that's just because we push through a lot of properties every year.
Let's look at that.
Us and our other investors.
And so this is what we're looking at. We were looking at, if we were ending up using a realtor, but let's look at the prices here. See, when we were looking at selling it for 160, 165, we hadn't done much to it. We weren't going to pay the realtor on this one. So let's see, that's 0% there. We had transfer fees. We did not have staging. We did not have any marketing expenses. That was 0. We did track a home warranty on there. It was about 1.5, or actually here's the recording fee, 1%. That's all about right.
Yeah.
Yep, that looks about right there. So total selling costs, it was actually a little bit more. Let me see, I have my numbers here. But roughly evaluating this the way it is. Electricity, we ended up not even holding this for 6 months. We had factored in 2 months because of the amount of work that was needing to be required. The days on market in that area, the days on market were only like 29 days in that area. And that was the cheapest house in that neighborhood. Everything else was well over $200,000. And you'll actually see, if you look this house up, the people that bought it are now selling it again.
Oh yeah.
And it's under contract for like $210,000. And so we sold it like that at 180, and this was
A year ago.
a year ago. Yeah. So that's what's really great now when we run those numbers that way.
But keep in mind that in that time, Amazon put up a big warehouse
Right.
right next door
You
to
can't
that
bank
neighborhood.
on appreciation, but right now that just shows how. Now, so when we start to reduce the cost of money lending, of holding costs, it's mainly the borrowing of the money. When we can start to reduce those costs, now look at that. Now is estimated $17,000 profit. Holy smokes. Now that's why we can beat out, and that's why we're talking about the power of self-directed IRAs. When you have access to the capital already, you can literally make bigger offers and still come out profitable.
That's why we win when we go to the auction, is
Absolutely.
because we don't have money costs.
Absolutely.
And because we have a buyer's list put together, I would say, maybe 25% of our houses, we don't even use realtors.
Exactly.
So, when you don't have to pay a realtor fees, you don't have to pay money costs, that goes to the bank of back hip pocket.
Hip National Bank. Hip
Yeah.
National Bank. All right, so here, I'm going to stop sharing so you can share your screen on the PowerPoint, and then I will control your screen.
You're so controlling.
Actually, just give me your mouse. That'll be the easiest way to do that.
I don't know. Am I sharing anything anymore?
No.
You're just causing my computer to freeze up with all these crazy things you're
I
doing.
know, we got cameras, we got this PowerPoint, we got this running.
Okay, so let me share PowerPoint. There we go.
There we go. Beautiful.
And then I have to hit that button.
Now, of course, are there any guarantees in real estate? No. Could there have been some big catastrophes? Yes. But when we were actually going into this, we were looking at, we're just going to buy it, turn it around, put it on the market. That's actually what we were looking at doing, making 5 to 10 grand. When we realized that, hey, we could potentially make a lot more on this, then there was nothing needed to actually stop us. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at my screen here. Hey, there we go. Perfect. All right, so this is what it looked like, to recap if you just popped on. So what it looked like when we bought the house. So it needed some cleanup, it needed some work done, it needed carpet cleaning. We had to actually just clean the carpet, and then we negotiated to do some paint and some flooring. Didn't have a stove there either. So let's see what this looked like afterwards. Hey, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So these photos, because we had already had the buyer in place, we didn't have professional photos done. These were photos that I basically took on my cell phone. Let's see here. There we go. So we put carpet in the bedrooms, and then the vinyl planks that looked like wood in the rest of the house. They're waterproof. They last a really long time. Great cost-effective way, putting those in the bathroom so it matches. Looks really good. Painted everything. New fixtures. They wanted some shower heads. Put some safety bars, handrails there. Got everything nicely cleaned up and repainted, so everything was fresh. New toilets, some new faucets.
But because we weren't going to sell for $160, we were going to sell for $20,000 more.
Right.
It was easy to throw in a couple of toilets and things like that.
Put a little, trinkets for them. So new sink in the kitchen, nice new sink there. So these, and then we did do appliances.
Yes.
Did all new appliances, so all new GE appliances, which was nice. So new refrigerator, new washing machine, new sink. But see, we didn't even have to touch the cabinets. We just cleaned everything. We didn't change the countertops. We just cleaned it all. And so new stove there, stainless steel stove with stainless steel hood right there. So we did the appliances, we did the flooring, and we did the paint with a couple of other little fixtures, things like that. And it looks amazing. You know, added a light to a fan there. But you know, these were taken at night, so it looks a lot more yellow than it normally is. But
yeah, it wasn't really that yellow.
yeah, the key is I mean, it looks kind of more like you can see the light there by the front door.
Yeah, that's the color that the walls really look like. If you look at the way over there.
But like I said, these are just Ray standing on a bucket taking pictures at night with his cell phone, because there was no need for that added expense. So you can see that there's a bar that we added into the bathroom there, a new toilet.
Oh, we didn't need contractors, which cost a lot of money.
Right.
All the work needed here was just handyman.
Yeah. Handyman. You know, we have our painting crew that came through there. That was like $2,300 for the painter crew. They painted the doors and the walls. The flooring guys, that was similar to that.
Well, the buyer selected the paint color too.
Yeah.
So we don't normally go with yellow.
Right. See, that was what was the benefit.
Jersey,
like, hey,
Jersey cream. I remember it was Jersey cream.
It was like, hey, you know, you can work out those deals, and that's what's fantastic. You know, sometimes you can do that on fix and flips. When I always recommend you have some type of agreement in place before you start tailoring everything to their needs without having some type of guarantee in place. So don't do that. Make that mistake. But we went through and everything got done, and the rooms were all cleaned up and repainted and fresh carpet, and it was great. It was ready for them to move in and enjoy.
What would you recommend if you do that? Would you increase
increase the purchase price, increase the earnest money deposit?
Earnest money deposit. That's what you do.
And in your contract, that's non-refundable.
Right.
If I'm going to be doing, you know, $15,000 worth of work for you, tailored to your needs, a $3,000 paint job of the color that you like that I think I would not do, that's non-refundable. Okay, if something happens. So that's powerful to understand. And also doing things like that, make sure that they're serious about this. Don't let people play with you. Okay, there's a little wisdom there.
But we've established a lot of good relationships with buyers and sellers. So already having done a few successful deals.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what it looked like. It was the 8987 East McMurray Place in Tucson, Arizona. We purchased it for $145,364.75. And that was on February 6th of 2019 from the foreclosure auction, Superior Courthouse. The property was sold just over a month later for $180,000 with proceeds to us, the seller, for $176,940.31. That was after the $3,110 in closing costs, and our holding costs were $1,132. The rehab was $11,956 and change, leaving a profit of $18,435.09.
Yes. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. So now I wish all of them were that easy. And this is a good one. And next week, we'll show you the bad ones. Next week, we're going to talk about the property that we had for 13 months while this was going on. But we still didn't lose any money. And that's what's powerful.
Bad only because we didn't make as much as we wanted to, but good.
Oh, we still made money on that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we call it the successful failure.
It was a successful failure. Imagine that. Imagine, and then we can just, we'll just stop sharing that. Imagine that. You have a property and closings fall through. I mean, we have closings fall through all the time. It's something that just happens. You can't, there's things outside of your control. And when that does happen, boom, you got to put that property back on the market. You got to find another buyer.
You mean you didn't plan for there to be a complete economic shutdown?
No, but like right now, I know Tucson is still thriving. Properties are flying off the shelves because there's just nothing available right now. So when things do come up, if it's under $220,000 right now, there's multiple offers. It's getting done super, super quick. And so that's why we're seeing spikes in prices. A year from now, will that be the same scenario? I'm not quite sure. But when you're in a situation with using self-directed IRAs and having that capital already in your business, when something happens, you can change direction. For example, we saw just how changing the way that this was structured with the buying of it, it went from a negative 10,000 to a positive 17,000. We don't realize how much in closing costs and money costs there can be. That can be all your profit right there. And then you're just doing a charity project.
So what I liked also was when you used the program, it wasn't exact. It said 17, but we actually made 18. But I like that it's close.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you have to go and you're quickly evaluating something and you want something that's going to get you within like $1,000, I think that's very great system, the Renatus iOS.
Absolutely.
Very accurate.
Use it all the time for evaluating projects. So folks, that really kind of wraps it up for tonight. I mean, that kind of shows you through a deal. Make sure you're liking and subscribing, making sure that you're going over to Wise Guys and Ties, you're plugging into that event tab, getting plugged into these masterminds where next week.
Does anybody have any questions for the property guy?
That too. If you have any questions, let's talk about that real quick. We got a couple more minutes here, but I want to make sure that you guys are getting plugged in. You're staying plugged in. Also, what do we got going on? We got a, what else do we have coming up?
Rad said, you can't buy a shack in Idaho for $160,000.
You can't.
But you want to know why I think that is? Because they were flooded by a whole bunch of displaced Californians who came in with all of their money and raised the average price of homes.
Yeah.
And it actually exceeds what the median income is for Idahoans. It's really something that they've been talking about.
It's kind of crazy.
Idaho. Only reason why I follow Idaho is I lived there for 8 years. I played at Boise State University.
And we were just there last year, actually, too. We were in Boise last year.
Mm-hmm. Got some friends still up there in the Northwest, and it was great. But one of the big things, and it was even in legislation about how overinflated the Boise, Idaho market is. I mean, it's just beyond what can be afforded. But I think they traced it back to a flood of these Californians coming in and raising.
Get us out of here!
They were fleeing the Socialist Republic of California. But anyway, the point is that
well, it's just so much to operate your business in California. I don't know what it is. They just keep raising the price to operate a business, and they're just not being business friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? I don't understand.
Well, but here's what when you say you can't buy a house for 160, you have to look at what houses are going to sell for at auction.
Actually, you're right. The purchase price, but could you find something out of pocket that only requires you maybe like $20,000
or less? Because there's always other strategies like contract for deed or subject to, or the option strategy. Those three are my personal favorite. But hey, we have another question from Raul. Do you have an apartment? Do you have any apartment buildings in your portfolio?
I wouldn't say apartment buildings. We have multifamily housing, duplex, triplex, but nothing of the apartment nature yet. We're in the process of that.
I'm anticipating, I don't know, but I think that there's going to be a market correction.
Yeah.
And
18 months.
And when things go on sale, I think we'll be well positioned for that. Rad says houses are expensive here in Idaho, I guess, what he was referring to. So yeah. Ray, one of the things that this is so beneficial for people, and like I think that I would pay money to be listening to all the stuff that you're sharing. But I think it's so beneficial that you've been educated, you know what you're doing, and you've got a great team and support group around you, because you didn't do all this just all on your own.
Well, I couldn't have done it without a good partner like Joseph, and I was able to understand where Joseph had his knowledge from, and that's what was powerful. Is I was like, I could see that Joseph had this experience, this knowledge, especially in the finance department on how to actually raise all this capital. I mean, I couldn't have done it without Joseph, that's for sure.
So basically, it's kind of like a marriage. I bring the money in and then you spend it.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm just that high maintenance, spouse.
Let me go buy a bunch of stuff. I need new bathtubs. I need new cabinets.
So there's a lot of people that are wondering, like, what's the next step?
Well, the next step is we actually have a private Zoom that we're going to be doing on Saturday. And so,
do we have a slide for that or anything? Or do you want to write it on the board, or are we going to put it in the comment section below?
Where is that information actually?
So on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we actually meet with folks and we discuss marketing, referral business opportunities. We discuss investing in real estate, getting educated in that, and we look at all kinds of areas of basically what it is how did we do it? Because I'm a guy with 2 foreclosures and a bankruptcy on his record, and I don't think you ever had any foreclosures or bankruptcies, but Ray's been through his own financial journey. But what we did is we invested in our minds. We got educated. We learned how to do this. Before I met Ray, I ended up going down the path of learning how to find the money, how to find money in self-directed IRAs, velocity banking or credit banking, whatever you want to call it, is a wonderful strategy to eliminate debt, but that doesn't where it has to end. You can use that strategy to help grow wealth and grow cash flow, especially when you combine it with other financial strategies, such as business credit, which was another way that I found how to gain access to capital. So we've got self-directed IRAs, we've got velocity banking, we've got business credit. Again, there's so many different lending products, things that are out there, but we found access to so much money. We learned how to put properties under contract without having to come out of pocket. We're on deal number 8. Sorry. We're on deal number 19 and deal number 20 right now. These are 2 flips that we're working on. And the thing is at least, I'm so grateful to God that we have been profitable on all of them. But I also attribute a lot of that to being educated and going into this with the right mindset and running our numbers, because we didn't buy houses, we bought the numbers, and we raised 100% of all the money that we've done for all of our deals has come from other people's money. OPM, other people's money. Opium. Not to be confused, of course, with opium. No, there's not that, right? But this was super powerful. It changed my life because I was somebody that a bank would not touch with a 10-foot pole. I had 2 foreclosures and a bankruptcy on my record, and so I was not somebody that was lendable or fundable. But I learned how to start a business and how to make that business lendable and fundable to the point where I could raise capital from self-directed IRAs and then secure it and back it with business credit. And we were able to put properties under contract using a subject to method, so we didn't have to come out of pocket for a lot of money. I mean, there were so many amazing things that we were able to do. But this wasn't anything was this taught in school?
Absolutely not. And then we were talking about wealth creation, that it wasn't, this is not what you're taught. So we didn't actually have anything scheduled in Zoom for the Saturday. So just got that scheduled here for you guys. And I'm going to throw that here in the chat box on Zoom. And so go ahead and register for that Zoom webinar. If you want to find out more about how to make, a couple $100 to thousands of dollars through.
Well, those are folks in the webinar, but what about folks that are in YouTube?
And, that's great because we have so many folks all over the different place. I don't want anybody to feel left out. So I'm going to run over to YouTube right now. And I think I can tap this into.
Are you going to get that over to CJ and have CJ put that in?
Let's see. I think we can now. Are you guys able to see that on YouTube?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think it's hidden because Wise Guys and Ties is kind of, I don't know, what?
A moderator?
A moderator.
Yeah. Wow, CJ, what a guy. What a guy. You know, we want to thank you so much for the Velocity Channel for welcoming us on this program. There's so many excellent and admirable people. We love working with all of the Velocity Channel folks, but we also want to encourage you to go to Wise Guys and Ties YouTube channel. There you're going to get information on saving money on taxes, how to manage your personal credit, obviously how to build business credit. We have how to invest in real estate, right? There's so many different trainings there. But do me a favor. If you found any value out of anything tonight, like and subscribe to the channel that you're watching it on, and then go over to the Wise Guys and Ties channel and like and subscribe to us there. Hit the bell if you want notifications. What happens when you do? What happens when you do that? No, seriously, what happens when you do that is what you're telling YouTube is this isn't some rinky-dink little video, that this is actually valuable content, and they'll help us push this out so that we can reach more people. Because I'm convinced that there are a lot of people, especially right now in the economy, that are hurting and they need help. They need a way out. Some people have lost jobs. Some people are working jobs that they hate. I mean, people need to realize that you can actually take control of your own finances and create your own economy that you can control. And so when you like and subscribe this kind of material, you help us get this message out to the masses. So I'd like to thank you in advance for helping us do that. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, Mr. Property Guy?
Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
All right. Well, folks, I'm so grateful that we had this time that we got to spend with you today. Man, powerful real estate mastermind number 4. I love these case studies that you're doing. And so you're knocking it out of the park, Ray. Thank you so much. You've been so helpful to us.
Good being on the other side of that, partner.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. And for those who want to participate in that private Zoom webinar, make sure you click on the link that is either if you're in the webinar now, click on that, or go into the YouTube channel and click on that. Either way, register for the link, and we will see you Saturday live at noon Pacific Standard Time. Otherwise, folks, we'll see you next week. On behalf of myself, Joseph Smith, and Ray Fleming,
good night,
and God bless.
Bless.